On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast, we're going to hell.
In a hot dog cart. Let's do this.
Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
I'm Liz.
And we're going to talk about season 11, episode 9, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And we were just discussing how darkness this episode is and her...
Oh.
Yeah. So there we go. We'll get to all that fun stuff.
Yes, all the puns to come. So many more puns. They're just waiting to be had.
Mm-hmm.
What have you been up to?
I feel like a lot of things and nothing. I don't know. What have I been up to? I've been, I went to a show. So there's a really good show of local Dallas bands this past weekend. It was super fun. The headliner was Desi 5. It's just like super fun, like soul inspired kind of pop sound. It was really cool. And then, yeah. I feel like, Dave and I went on an adventure to go shopping for rugs on Harry Hines, which is a section of Dallas that has some interesting markets. Spoiler alert, we did not buy a rug, but we did have some interesting observations, and also learned that you can't really get into the and out of the Harry Hines Bazaar on back to school weekend. So
yeah,
that's my adventure.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah. How about you? What have you been up to?
Nothing really. I mean, I hate when you ask me that. I'm like, oh shit. Like I really don't have anything that I've been doing that is exciting at all. So it's pushing through the August heat, which is here. Wildlife is coming to visit my pools. We have debates of frogs or toads. I just had baby foxes in my backyard.
They were really cute.
So yeah, it's snow whiting over here as I stare anxiously at a house and wish I hadn't signed a contract that said I can't do work on that house if I am not one of the contractors I'm paying to do it. I'm going to go burn that contract up and go finish it. I'm like, look, I know I signed this, but there should have been a clause in there that if you don't finish it a certain amount of time, that I can just go finish it myself.
It seems reasonable.
Yeah, although
like
right now, like one of the things that has to happen is the masonry of rebuilding the stone fireplace.
I don't know if that's something you want to do.
I don't know how to do that. So maybe get a glue gun and so you get a glue gun.
YouTube video and a glue gun. You're good.
I'm a crafter, right? I can figure it out. Like some command strips just behind the limestone walls. I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay. All right, so this episode, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, is named off of the movie that hopefully Diana has seen. There's a lot of movies you haven't seen, so this was season 11, episode 9, and it first aired December 9th, 2015, and was directed by Robert Singer, which makes sense for the material that is in this episode. So I think it makes sense to bring him back. And it was also written by Eugenie Ross-Leming and Brad Buckner, who also have dealt with Lucifer a lot in their past. So I think that makes sense.
Got it. All right. Well, we open on the darkness is a grown-up.
Right.
We see her as grown-up darkness, and she is standing by a fountain listening to this street preacher and who has a flock with signs because they're doing street preachy things.
I really like the sign with the eyes, the God is watching you eyes, and the eyes are like far apart. And I just really appreciate the artwork of those eyes.
Noted. Well, she interrupts and she's like, so you're talking about God, right? Because, like, do you really think he's watching? Is he really interested in what's happening here? Where is he at? And the minister this street preacher is like, you got to repent or you're going to face God's wrath. And she's like, oh, about that wrath. Can you send that? Because I kind of want to talk to this guy. Like, and so.
Yeah, and she also, there is like, and they're like back and forth as, you know, he's like trying to convert her for some reason, right? And she's just heckling, which is, you know, happens all the time. Would you think a street preacher had dealt with a heckler before? But when he is talking about, you know, God watching and judging them, but about who's like worthy to join him in heaven, and she's just like, so, but you think that's you? And I just, the way she said it, I was just like, that is perfect. Way to go, Amara.
And she's like, and he's like, and only God has all that power. And she's like, hold on. And so she makes the fountain like flow with blood. Yep. She's got dark clouds.
It's a blood fountain. Yep. And she does that by pointing her finger. And then she does a dance move and she's doing it with her arm. And it's like straight up with the flex wrist, like kind of like a half vogue. And that's what makes the lightning strike and the weather turn. So Amara's secret power is actually voguing, and we will see this continue throughout the episode. And then, so the preacher, who was astonished at her voguing power, because he's like, is God testing it? And she was like, oh no. And she does like this V thing in her arms. And that is such a classic Vogue move, right? We all know that one. And that's when lightning starts hitting those followers and frying the preacher.
Yeah, they all did. One by one. It's a lot. And so then she just looks around and she sees the sign that says the end is near. And she said, you wish.
With an oh honey. And I'm like, yes, I do. Please just tell me the end is near. And then she looks up to the sky and she's like, come on. Well, what's going on?
Oh, well, we cut from this delightful scene to Sam in the cage with Lucifer. He is having another vision of him being in this creepy blue light in the cage with Lucifer. And he is asking if he is in the woods asking if the universe, if this really is the answer, because this is a vision. And when he, in response to his question to the universe, the bush behind him catches on fire. So we have a burning bush.
Yeah. And so that seems like a sign.
Seems like a sign from God, right? Sure. Mm-hmm. So back at the bunker, Dean is yelling at Sam that this is a terrible idea. Which, yes, same conversation. And yes, he's probably not wrong, but, you know. Sam's like, yeah, you're right. I just don't think we have any other options. I got this vision. And then I got specific, and I think that now I think that this is, you know, the only bigger, more terrible monster than darkness might be Lucifer, or at least Lucifer might know about darkness. So maybe this is what I got to do.
Also, when Lucifer touches me, I feel calm. And that's when Dean's like, what the fuck? Why is Lucifer touching you, making you calm? And Dean is like, do you know this is God? And Sam's like, duh, I saw a burning bush. And Dean's all, it's a forest and there are bushes and sometimes they just burn. So first of all, about that, we get to learn a new word today. And the word we are learning is theophany. So a theophany is the appearance of a deity in a visible and tangible form, often in the context of ancient religions, to describe encounters with gods. So they are manifestations like light, fire, or human forms that reveal that the god, the deity, is present and real to humans, right? So this is sort of a mini lore. I just really minute or two on some burning bushes that cannot be treated with antibiotics. So in 2002, Cecil, let's call him Cecil because that's a much more fun name to say. Cecil Adams of the Straight Dope answered the following inquiry. Dear Cecil, I'm sure I remember hearing from a reliable source, i.e. a science program, that certain species of trees or shrubs will spontaneously combust in order to ensure the survival of the species. I'm being mercilessly teased about this, so I'd appreciate any information you can dig up. Donna Rose, Washington, D.C. Cecil replies, no offense, Donna, but this is a pretty dull way of putting it. A more interesting way is, could the biblical burning bush that spoke to Moses have been a spontaneously combusting desert shrub? Answer, maybe. Some claim there's a plant in desert regions that every so often bursts into flame for no apparent reason. So Cecil goes on to say that the science program was likely talking about pyrophytes, which are plants that have adapted to fire in various ways. Also the title of my next band. The cones of several species of pine, for example, are serotinous, I mean, that's just my brain. And so they open only when they're exposed to really high temperature. So they have to have fire to reproduce.
Okay.
But that fire has to come from outside, right? They can't like set themselves.
They don't
set themselves on fire, right? But he also goes on to say that other plants eliminate the middleman. There is a plant called dictanimus. They just start calling it D period because nobody. So Dict albus. So its last name is albus. So it's like your dog. Is a flowering shrub that grows to a height of about 2 feet. Native to a wide swath of Europe and Asia, including Israel, it's commonly called Fraxinella dittany, and more pertinently for our story, gas plant and burning bush. But I like that it's called gas plant.
Gas plant. Okay.
Yep. So they say on warm days, D. albus exudes vapor that readily ignites if you hold a match to it. And some say it ignites all by itself if the sun is hot enough. But here is when things start to get biblical. The vapor burns so quickly that it doesn't consume or even damage the plant. It's like, when you're doing a fire flow and I'm like, what? Look at me, like put this fire all over me, but it's like not really burning me. Like that's just because I have alcohol, whatever things I'm doing to like do my fleshing. Right. So I haven't used that word in a while. Fleshing. So, then he talks about in Exodus 3:2, and the angel of Lord appeared unto Moses in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. So D. albus is Moses' burning bush, right? And many biblical commentators think so, but he doesn't want to like say for sure that he is. And he said there was a research assistant who turned up a case of spontaneous combustion involving cactus, but nobody has authoritatively said, I've seen a bush light itself on fire, right? So all those plants he was talking about, again, that word is pyrophytes. And that means plants that have adapted to tolerate fire. Passive pyrophytes, these names all sound like something in BDSM. So passive pyrophytes are able to resist fire through physical adaptations, like making thick bark with 2 C's and tissue with a high moisture content, so you got to be juicy or have some underground storage structures, so some junk in your underground trunk. And so examples of those include the giant sequoia, the coast redwood, and also the Venus flytrap, which I could not keep alive. So active pyrophytes encourage the spread of fire by producing flammable oils. An example of that would be the Australian eucalyptus. And you can see a blue haze above eucalyptus trees in certain conditions from all the oil coming off of it. Fun fact, I did not know. That will probably be on Jeopardy someday. So if you win, let me know. Mm-hmm. So if a plant needs fire to reproduce, then it's called pyrophilic. Also, see, it just sounds dirty.
It does.
So that sounds like the longleaf pine depends on fire to clear the sound for seed germination. There is another Australian plant, the biblis, and that one is either carnivorous or post-carnivorous. They're unsure because for a while, like they thought it was eating the bugs on it. Then they realized there's another bug that's hanging out there and eating the bugs that it's attracted to it. So they think it's just eating that bug's crap. So then that becomes post-carnivorous. So, but they do need the pyrogenic chemicals in the smoke of a brush fire to start their germination. Plants can combust if they produce a low ignition. This language, it all sounded very sciencey, and it made things. So I tried to make it understandable. So let's go. All right. So if a plant has a low ignition temperature, so like hay or straw,
right,
and then they start to release heat through a process like oxidation or bacterial fermentation. So like things get mixed with them that cause or bacteria gets in them. And the materials themselves, because of their structure, they keep heat inside of them. So the temperature just gets hotter and hotter, and it will rise past the ignition rate. And that will cause combustion if there's a significant oxygen around to maintain, this is a quote, the reaction into thermal runaway, which just sounds like something in space, but really just means like there are like piles of hay and straw. Those often do, especially if it's really hot in the summer, those will combust. There is a true crime story on Buried Bones about a person who was found burned alive in a field, and they thought it was a murder, but he had gone to sleep in between two haystacks, and the haystacks combusted and he was burnt alive.
Oh, sad,
but really interesting forensic case.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's the burning bush. So I mean, I didn't know, but yeah. So bushes can set themselves on fire. I kind of want that plant that just like burns, but not in Texas. It seems like a bad thing. And it doesn't seem like it should exist in Australia either.
No, it seems like a bad place for that.
Seems dangerous.
Yeah, but everything there is dangerous, right?
Yeah, they should like talk to me when a plant has developed the ability to like put the fire out. All right, so go back into Sam and his rationalization.
He's like, yeah, I mean, hey, Lucifer was there when God put darkness away. Maybe he knows something. Cool. And I guess it kind of works because our next scene is Sam and Dean meeting with the one and only Crowley.
Yep, and it's both of them are there, and at first Crowley doesn't want to talk about the cage.
No, he just wants to talk about what the hell's going on with Dean and the darkness.
Amara, yeah. And he's like, why can't you control your girlfriend? And then apparently this is the episode where everybody learns that Amara is God's sister. Yeah. And they all learn it one at a time. So this is Crowley's turn to learn, and he is surprised that God has relatives.
Yes, and he's also pissed that he lost this leverage. So, and Dean's like, that's fine. I need to know if Sam can meet with Lucifer but not in the cage and without letting Lucifer out of the cage. It's like a riddle.
Yes.
And
how can one be inside the cage but outside the cage?
And communicate through the cage. Yes. And so Crowley's like, look, if you go in that cage, you're gone. So, yeah, that's just all there is to it. So we need a way to neutralize Lucifer, but we don't really know what that is. And they're like, well, no matter what, Sam's safety is important to Dean. And Crowley's like, well, I can get you transit through hell, but God's the one that sealed this cage up. I don't have the key.
Which is also fair, right? Like Crowley, like what the fuck does Crowley have to do with this? Also, in between, they have shown Lucifer in the cage, and he is modeling and doing some blue steel, and
it's very weird. That's why I just skipped it. I'm sorry.
I know.
It's just these random flashes of Lucifer in the cage with the blue light.
I just wanted to talk about his Zoolander face because he was like he got some serious pose in there. Maybe there's going to be a Vogue off between him and Amara, and that's what's going to happen.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
You better walk that fucking duck. So all right. So where are we? So
they
need the cage, and the spell to protect Sam are only in one place, and of course, it's in the Book of the Damned.
For sure. So yeah. So we cut to a church, and we see the altar.
And it looks like a super Catholic church or super Episcopalian, like, just stained glass everywhere. They're just like, are y'all gonna fuck all this up? Is this all about to get busted?
I know, it's very pretty stained glass installation here, and it's obviously not during like a mass or a service, but the priest is there. There's people praying.
It's like
there's all a rosary. It's like they go do the rosary. And we see Amara there. And I get confused. So should I be calling her the darkness or Amara, or is interchangeable?
It's interchangeable.
Okay. It's just, I was like, I don't know. Darkness gets really long to write, and then dark is stupid. So
sometimes I just call her the dark because it's funny. But usually it's Amara is what I just end up referring to her as.
Well, she tells him that she's looking for a meeting with God. And he's like, why don't you pray? And she's like,
this is yet another one of these like preachers that are just like, why are y'all so interested in converting this lady? And he is so sincere in everything he says to her. And they're all like the basics, like 1, 2, 3, this is how you get Jesus.
Yeah. And she's like, tries to kind of pray, like kneels and like kind of like the other parishioners are doing, like kneels and is like, yeah, it's not working. And he's like, well, it's kind of, I'm like a little kid, like, this didn't work. Like,
this doesn't work. And then he's like, nobody is seeing God. And then she is like, only dead people get to see him. And this makes sense to billions of you. And then he tries to explain faith to her. And I'm like, sir, I'm not sure this is a conversation to have in the middle of his pew. Like, I get you're a priest, but clearly, have you not dealt with a woman who walked in off the street in an evening gown and was talking to you about like finding God? Like, I think you should take this conversation another way. But anyways, he's either the nicest or the dumbest priest.
Well, I mean, it doesn't go well for him either way. So he fails to explain faith to her in a way that she is accepting of this in any way, shape, or form, and she calls it a manipulation. And says that they don't know God. And the priest's like, no, we do. He's the light who vanquishes the darkness.
Which was a very unfortunate choice of words for this man. Like, you probably could have said a whole bunch of other things about God. But that phrase, oops.
I mean, it's a very common phrase in...
Yeah, I'm sure, but maybe not the right time to say that. But
and he hands her a Bible and leaves and walks away. He hands her a Bible and walks away.
And so we go from there to the asylum, and Rowena has been brought in under a hood, and she's wearing a fucking beaded gown. God damn it! And then look how she's pulling off those bangs, and then she said something. I don't know. I was just looking at her dress.
Well, she says her followers will swoop down if she's hurt by Crowley, and he's like, yeah, if that was going to happen, you would have already done that. So sorry. And Sam and Dean enter, and she's big mad because she's like, why the fuck are you working with them again? And Dean's like, yeah, no, don't worry, we're all enemies. We just have a bigger enemy now that's shared. So don't get too caught up in this. She realizes that whatever's going on is a result of the removal of the mark. She knew something bad was going to happen. She told them something bad was going to happen. She helped them do it anyway.
Literally said so. Literally knew it. She read
told
the book.
You so.
It was in the spell.
Yes,
literally in the spell.
And she wants to know if it's as bad as the rumors say it is. And because if she's going to help them with anything, if they want the book or whatever, she wants to know what's going to happen afterwards.
Which is the typical Rowena, right? So what happens to me? How can I know if I can trust you? And then Crowley says you can't because it's a devil's bargain. And that should have been the title of this episode, but will be the title of my next album. So we go from there to, I guarantee you there is some band that has an album called The Devil's Bargain.
Yeah.
And so we go from there to PJ's auto body.
And we have an angel meeting.
Oh no.
A secret angel meeting.
Oh no.
And they are meeting about the darkness because some of the angels are not really happy with how the other angels in heaven are dealing with this, and all the factions of the angels need to come together because, the God's not around.
Yeah, so one angel dude has decided that nobody's doing anything fast enough. So he is going to get them all to rally up together, and they're all going to show God and all the other big bads like what you do. And so yeah, that's gonna go well.
Yeah, they're gonna
Yeah,
stand united. That's all that matters.
yeah, and there is like, I get it, like, groups come together, for the first time, and like one of them is like, "Wow, how can you lead? Like, you've never led before." And he's like, "Look, someone time, it's got to be your first time sometime, right?" Which is a basic gist, but also maybe your first time shouldn't be going up against an immortal being that God locked away.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know if this is the time.
This is when you call in an expert.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a big move there, Buster, but let's see how the strategy plays out for you. All right, so we go back to the asylum, where now Rowena has learned that darkness is God's sister.
Yes.
And she thinks that is hilarious, and in her day, she would have been burned at the stake for even thinking something like this.
Yes. And Crowley is going to offer her a deal. He's going to call off his assassins if she helps by using the Book of the Damned. And she's like, well, I'm going to also need the Codex, and I need Charlie's Codebreaker. And Dean's like, look, all we need to know and all you're allowed to do is look at how to open the cage and protect Sam, period. And she's like, well, what's in the cage? Because nobody's told her this part yet.
Somehow they have left this out. Somehow she does not know what's in.
They are not good at explaining things.
Communication, once again, is not a Winchester strength. So they tell her who is in the cage.
And she
squeals.
Giddy squeal. She is.
It's like you told her it was a Jonas brother. Yeah. She is so excited that Lucifer is in this cage, and it is delightful. So we at least have that moment to help this episode go forward. So we go from there to the church, where the organ is still playing.
It is. The organ is still playing, but the candles are have all gone out. And all of the parishioners that were there praying and the priest not yet. All the parishioners are dead, and the statues are all broken, and the darkness, Amara eats the soul of the priest, and then
she tosses him against the altar, and then he dies. And so bravo to you dudes for the work of the corpses in this episode. You know, we had the burning corpses in the first one where everybody was all charred up from the lightning. Yeah. And then in here we just have some good old fashioned like ripped apart gore. Yeah. Like it's just very it is a very well done gore fest. It is. And that priest's death was gnarly and it was good. Yeah. Like it was just like boom, head against like yeah. And so, but Amara is just like, hey God, like I'm come out, like all your people are suffering, like don't you want to stop this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Dean is at the church investigating this while Sam is on witch duty, which felt like that sounded like a fun way of labeling it, but it's probably not that fun. So he said that this is there's a report of a mystery woman that was seen with the priest, so they know that it's Amara, obviously. And Dean's gonna go, he wants to make sure that while they're on the phone, he's talking to Sam, he really wants to make sure he's okay with this plan. He wants to make sure Sam suggested this plan, but that Sam's actually willing and able to go through with it. And Sam's like, well, no, I'm not okay with it, but I just don't feel like I have a choice. And so we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Buckle up.
Yeah. And Dean's like, well, I hate it too, but don't do anything without me. And Sam's like, of course, I promise. And the Rowena is like, have you seen my hair? It looks fucking amazing. I'm sitting here.
It's a really good hair episode.
I am trussed up like a chicken is what she says, but I don't think she is because like her bangs have like some kind of volume and the side is just, it's not frizzy. It's just the curls are out and they are spectacular. So I think you're doing just fine, girl. But she thinks because she's in handcuffs that they don't trust her.
Well, yeah, because they're supposed to be partners on this. And So
And Sam's like, we can't let you loose with the Book of the Damned because what? Do I look crazy? And she's like, well, you do have some issues with your domineering older brother and abandonment by your father. And I was like, damn, girl, go. But she gets an aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells Sam to get Firmus to get Fergus, and he's gonna get him to summon a handcart. Because they're going to hell.
We're going to hell.
So from phrases.org.uk, originally to go to hell in a handbasket was first shown in 1682 in the history of popery. So I'm going to pop all my P's right into this microphone. So that noise of a popish plot was nothing in the world but an intrigue of the Whigs to destroy the king's best friends. And the devil fetch me to hell in a handbasket. If I might have my will, there should not be one fanatical dog left alive in the three kingdoms. Oh, so yeah, no popes. Okay, so the phrase to hell in a handbasket, this is mainly from phrases.org.uk, the website for everything. So they said the first citation of it was in 1682 from a packet of advice from Rome in the history of popery. That noise of a popish plot was nothing in the world but an intrigue of the Whigs to destroy the king's best friends, and the devil fetch me to hell in a handbasket if I might have my will. There should not be one fanatical dog left alive in the three kingdoms. So this also helps to dispute there is a common belief that the phrase originated in the United States. It did not. It was at least going back to the 1600s in UK. Italy, wherever the popes were. So there are variants of this phrase that use various forms of transport, traveling either to or from heaven or hell. And so the English preacher Thomas Adams had going to heaven in a wheelbarrow in God's bounty on Proverbs, which I think is fun, although maybe not the way I want to go to heaven. I guess that is also a way of saying that you are going to hell. Okay. So the medieval stained glass windows of Fairford Church in Gloucestershire have a woman being carried off to purgatory in the wheelbarrow pushed by a blue devil, which I want to go see. That sounds fun. There's a Bosch painting that was done in 1515 that showed fallen sinners being put aboard a hay cart that is trundling his path to hell. And so going to hell in a handbasket seems to just be a colorful version of saying going to hell, right?
Yeah.
And the in a handbasket is what they call an alliterative intensifier to make it sound better. And because things do sound better when there's alliteration, right?
Yes.
And they said there doesn't seem to be any significance to the handbasket apart from that, and that it just starts with an H. And the earliest citation they had of hell in a handcart, though, was in America. And that was the writer Elbridge Page's book of short patent sermons, which I'm sure were all bangers. And that came out in 1841. And that said, those people who would rather ride to hell in a handcart than walk to heaven supported by the staff of industry. Do not know what the rest of that sermon says. So we're going to leave that there. But yeah.
All right.
But I also just like the way Rowena says it too. It's very
going to hell.
We're going to hell, and you're just like, and Sam's like, what? What are we doing?
Like, yeah, we're going on vacation.
So we go from there back to the church. So we're going to have some back and forth. And Dean smells a fart, so Amara must be near. And then he sees a hot dog cart. So then he is like, so maybe that was the fart smell. And he was like, is it the hot dog water? And then the guy goes, do you want a hot dog? And he's like, duh.
He's like, obviously. And then Sam tries to call him, and he doesn't answer because Amara's there.
Yeah, so it's not just the hot dog water.
It's not just the hot dog water. Well, in the asylum, Rowena is annoyed that Sam is taking the time to call Dean, even though Sam promised that they wouldn't go anywhere until they talked to Dean. But
immediately broke that promise, 5 minutes later.
Yeah,
and because Sam is like, Rowena is also just pressuring.
She's ready.
Him,
she's ready to go.
So you gotta go.
So Amara, like, knows that Dean felt her presence. Ugh. And she touches his arm, and suddenly they're in like this valley by a water.
I just called it Canada. So they go to Canada. Also, Rowena had another great line when she was they were pressuring Sam. She said that she promised Lincoln a fun night at the theater.
She did.
Blast Podcast on the Left did a really great update on their John Wilkes Booth story. Highly recommend. It's that's a fun ride. So there, Amara and Dean are in Canada, and he is like, so glad you're grown up now. So this is less of a pedophile awkward situation.
Yeah, and he's like, this is you now, and she's like, at least for today. What?
We all change.
I guess.
I'm not the same person I was yesterday.
I guess. Well, either way, we go back to like this Crowley and Rowena and Sam. And she's talking shit. Crowley's annoyed, and because they are in this limbo region of hell, and this is where they send unruly, souls for a timeout. It lacks ambiance.
It does. But it does have a security for Sam's meetup with Lucifer. Mm-hmm. And we come up to this giant cage, right? It's very dramatic. And there's torches and there's lightings. And Sam thinks it suits Crowley because it's dark and empty. So some quick reminders about the cage, because it has been a while since this was on the show. Yes. This is mainly from Supernatural Wiki. So the cage was created after Lucifer was banished from heaven for defying God, because he got corrupted because of the mark of Cain. And the mark of Cain twisted a human soul into the first demon, right? And so God sent Michael to imprison Lucifer in the cage. He was locked in there with 600 mystical seals. Then Azazel came, Yellow Eyes, Old Ye, and he got inside a priest, and they killed a bunch of nuns. Then they started, Azazel told Lilith that she had to break the seals, whatever. So they start breaking seals. And so they break 66 of the 600 seals, and that is going to open things up. After Dean goes to hell, Cassio reveals that Lilith is going to break the seals in order to free Lucifer. They go through, they learn all the reasons, things that there's like Ruby, this is why Sam had the demon blood. Then when Sam and Dean are trying to stop Lucifer and the apocalypse, our hotness of Gabriel comes up, and it was like, yo, the 4 horsemen, they got some rings. And so they have to get, Sam's going to say, okay, Lucifer's going to possess me. We're going to get him in the cage. That doesn't work, but then they end up like trying to do it again. And then we got Michael, who is there in Adam, and then they fight, and then they all go into the cage, including Adam. Adam's still in the cage. And so, where's Adam? So the answers will come. I'm sorry. They're not like just ignoring that. I just think it's really funny. So Raphael tried to reopen the cage to release Lucifer and Michael, but that didn't work.
Yeah.
Then Death went in to get Sam's soul, and then that we got the wall up in Sam's head where it was all craziness.
The soul wall.
Yeah. And so the cage was supposed to be like, they've always been really vague about where it is. It's somewhere in hell. Yeah. And it was a place though that Azazel could still communicate with Lucifer through the cage. So there's always been kind of like this communication that goes in and out of the cage, which we'll see comes up later. Mm-hmm. And some fans have said that maybe the cage is in a like multiple dimensional plane because it can be reached from different things. And I think that would make kind of sense. But Sarah Gamble did confirm that the cage is at the bottom of the lowest depths of the 9th circle of the worst bit of hell. So Sarah Gamble is saying there's circles of hell, which is like
okay. Yeah.
So, but where we come to it here, it is a big box surrounded by chains in
limbo.
Yeah. So that's the cage. Yep.
Yes. And Rowena starts drawing sigils on this big old cage. That's when they arrive. And Crowley is telling Sam that even as king of hell, this place is not his cup of tea. And that's when Sam's like, oh, it suits you. It's dark and empty. Yeah. Crowley's irritated kind of about this. And he's like, you're being a dick and I'm helping again. Like,
why do you keep helping them, Crowley? Anyways.
So Rowena is getting ready to do a spell that should open the cage but keep them protected. And so she starts her incantation and we get a border of fire.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Back in Canada.
Yeah, but also, it begins.
Yeah.
So it begins, and then we go to Canada, and Amara's like, "Dean, you misunderstand why I'm here on Earth." And he's like, "What about all those people you just killed?"
And she's like, "Oh no, I'm just trying to get God's attention." And she's like, I prayed and he ignored me, so he forced my hand.
Yeah, and she does say an interesting thing, but. One is like, she just all trying to get my brother's attention, but she does like mention that there was no daddy, which I just think is an interesting. God has a sister, but God has no father, right? I just think that's in the dog whatever this mythology.
Dogma, yeah.
I think that's interesting. Okay, so
her issues with her brother, not with creation,
right? And like, I don't have a problem with these people, but also,
And he's like, this is y'all's mess, and now you're killing all these people and taking their souls. And she's like, oh no, don't worry. When I consume their souls, they're not gone. They just become part of me.
Yeah, that's not forever. Better. That's not better.
No. And she thinks it is. And that's what I'm like, oh no. She does not get this. Does not get it.
No. So we're going to go back to the cage where Sam is having a panic attack. Rowena is having an orgasm, and Crowley is just bored. And because they're in the cage is the one and only Lucifer in the mark. We
see flaming eyes, the ring of fire eyes. Ooh. And the fire goes down, and he recognizes Crowley immediately and talks some shit because he's like, "What the fuck?" And then he wants to know why he's there. What do y'all want with me? Sam steps into view. He's like, "Oh, my old roomie."
Yep, and then it's just like it's worse. He's just like, "Why am I here? Is it for parole?" And Rowena's like, "You're fucking hot." And, and then Sam, but she's also like, Lucifer's probably not relationship material, and I think that's wise. Lucifer is probably not a good boyfriend, no matter what you think as a high school girl. Like, so. Sam tells Lucifer that the darkness has been released, and Lucifer's like, "What? How did that happen?"
Even he's like, "Yikes!" Like, what the fuck? And
he's like, just like, Sam, was that you? Shockingly, did the evil get released by a Winchester?
Of course it did.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, darkness is on Earth, and it's a threat to all that exists." So,
which is like his line going into everything, right? Like trying to get everyone on board. Like it's gonna wipe you out. And Lucifer wants. I'm only quoted this line because I was craving this. Lucifer wanted to know where God the big burrito is.
And Sam's like, "Well, God's location's unknown right now, but he answered my prayers, so that's why I sought you out. Told me to come to you."
Well, that seems great. Dad said to reach out to you. Okay. Oh, this is all great. So we're going to cut from there back to Canada. And so Amara also has this idea that, so Dina's distrusting her, but she also thinks that a lot of this is because God pushed all this propaganda out about her. The God was so insecure that she was going to be able to make a better world than her, then he had to exile her, erase all mention of her, and then like make her seem like a threat to everybody. In other words, he went on Kanye. Oh, yeah.
Oh, and he's like, well, there is some things that people find comfort in from him, and whether it be the golden rule about being brother's keeper, just in general, it's his universe, it's been his rules. And she's like, what if there were no rules, no pain, no prayers, just bliss?
Yes, and she also points out like the differences between, another difference is that God was also encouraging all these religions and monuments to him, like for his ego. Yeah. So in her bliss land, like you're not gonna have to like pray. You don't have to do that. It's so cool, right?
You're just gonna have that feeling you have when you're with me.
This sounds great, right? Right? That sounds sus as hell. Well, speaking of hell, Crowley is complaining that he can't hear anything, and Rowena tells him to shut it, which just sounds so good in a Scottish accent.
It does. And so we have Lucifer and Sam discussing how he helps God seal up the darkness. And then now you've fucked that up, Sam. Essentially. And he's like, look, she has equal power to God, but not the experience at this point. And God obviously had strategy. So, maybe we could do something. Crowley's like, oh God, please, Sam, don't strike a deal. That's what's going to happen. Don't make a deal with fucking Lucifer. Please don't do this. Sam's clearly going to make a deal with Lucifer.
Of course he is. But also Crowley, like, you're the king of deals. Like,
I know, it's kind of weird.
But
the one time Crowley didn't think someone should make a deal was this time.
Right. And Rowena and Crowley are just kind of having this mother-son things off to the side, too. And she's just like, it's just so hard being a parent, knowing when to hug your child, knowing when to kill them.
Yeah. So Lucifer's like, look, I need to be let out of the cage if you want me to help you. So I need a vessel that's strong enough to hold me. And there seems to be one that's handy and available.
Oh, of course he wants to be inside Sam.
He always wants to be inside Sam.
Yeah, and so while we're pondering that, we go to Canada. And so what happens when the world is blissful is that Amara gets what she deserves. And what she deserves is everything. She is 100% that bitch. She was the beginning, she was the end, and she will be everything.
And he's like, so you're it? That would make you God. And she's like, oh no, God is the light. I am the dark. Boom, boom, boom.
Ooh, and I'm like, yes, I support this religion. I get some bliss, I get some darkness, I don't have to be in the light. Like, this all sounds great. But then Dean's like, I am going to stab the dark.
Because this is sus. But that's also stupid.
It's also really stupid to try and stab the dark because you can't stab the dark.
I mean, I know we say they're in Canada. Like, do we even know where they are? Like, are they on some like made up plane? Like, I don't know. We don't even know. We don't even know where they are. He's just going to stab her.
Like, what happens if you stab her? Do you live in Canada forever?
Well, I mean, but like, where are you? You don't even know. So either way, he tries to stab her with his fancy knife and it just shatters and she's not amused.
No, and she's like, well, you're a warrior, right? And you've got this instinct to resist, but she cannot be resisted. So she's like, I'm going to suck your face, but I can't suck. I can only blow. So they make out.
That's real weird.
So try and stab her, and then they make out. So we go from there back to hell, and Sam's like, you can't have my body to go run all over the world with Lucifer. You can't have my body, Lucifer. You can't be inside me, Lucifer.
And Lucifer's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're working with Crowley. Why can't you, why do you think God sent you here?
And he's like, you can't say no to the visions from God. And once again, if God or Lucifer or anybody tells you that the visions in your head are a message from God and that you were chosen to do something, you are in a cult and you need to call the police. Okay, so we go from there back to Canada where Dean's like, why is this kiss happening?
Why are we making out?
Why are we making out right now? What happened?
And she's like, oh, it's a future. We're bonded since you set me free. It's our destiny to be together. She's the original Mark. So that's why. She was the original Mark and bears it on her chest. And she's like, so we're going to be together. We're going to become one.
And the way she says it also sounds like the way she was talking about eating those souls.
Yeah,
so we are going to become one. And don't you want that? Don't you want to be one with the dark? And Dean's like, maybe not. But then we get interrupted by some angels.
Yeah. The three of the rebellious angels are there because they are going to confront Amara and they have conspired with a bunch of angels that are prepped in heaven and they are going to blast her away.
There's going to be a single unified smiting. Everyone is going to smite. It's going to be the big smite at the same time, right? And they're like, not even you can do this, right? And Dean's like, yo, can y'all chill out a little bit? This is going to kill a bunch of people.
Bad plan.
And angels are like, you forget we're dicks and we don't give a shit about people. And so an angel is going to come out with Amara and from Amara, she was like, oh shit. And she's like, no. And she's like, overhand throw. And she flips her wrist. So So the second angel then kills himself with his blade, and then she's like, tiger claw. And she puts her hands into a tiger claw, and then she does classic wax off. And then the third angel is gone.
Yeah. And he's like, what have you done? And then the dark clouds swirl, and there's lightning, and she poofs Dean, and she opens her arms, and we have the clouds and the light swirling, and the beam of light, the beam of attempted smote.
The smoted. And then, like, he ends up back at his hot dog stand. Did you get your dog, Dean? Did that ever happen?
I don't think he did, and that's just not fucking fair.
No.
But I guess it's better to get it after the makeout than before.
Yeah, I mean, but everything still smells like hot dog water. So we go back to hell, which also probably smells like hot dog water. Probably. And Lucifer wants to know if he's going to get an invite inside Sam.
And Sam's like, no, there has to be another way. And right as he says that, the sigils fade, the fire goes away, the fire barrier goes away, all the wards have failed. And Sam is now back in the cage.
He is in the cage, and there is apocalyptic music playing, but Sam's calm because, God said this was what's going to happen, so it's all cool.
And Lucifer's like, yeah, that's cool, except, if that would make sense if it was God that told you any of this, and if it was God talking. Because when the darkness descended, the cage was damaged, and I Lucifer, was able to reach out.
That fart was so loud, it broke my cage. It just busted that right open. And through that, he was able to reach out to Sam. It was Lucifer all along. God was never there.
That's upsetting.
There's no God. There's only Lucifer. Fuck.
There is no Dana, only Zool.
Exactly.
Oh no. And Sam's crying. It's very sad. And he's declining again to let Lucifer have his body, even though Lucifer says it's the only hope. And there we go.
Yep. And so Lucifer's like, you're top bunk, bottom bunk, we're sharing, and that's how they end. Sam is back in the cage with Lucifer. No. Dumbass. And all right. So do we have any angels or people to talk about?
Casting couch. It's the casting couch. Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
Yeah, we just got a couple in this episode. This was mostly actors we already knew and roles we already knew. But our lead angel is played by the one that wants to be the leader. It's played by Lane Edwards. He's in about 4 episodes of Supernatural. You may have also seen him in episodes of Fringe, Smallville, Hellcats, Arrow, The Whispers, Unreal, Zoo, Riverdale, and The Good Doctor. He was also a reoccurring character named Sheriff Duncan in Virgin River. There was one of the other angels, Daniel, was played by Antonio Cayón, and he's been in episodes of iZombie a few times, Lucifer a few times, Bates Motel, X-Files, Unreal, and Magicians. Our third angel was Andre Joseph, and been in episodes of iZombie, Flash, Lucifer, Supergirl, Magicians, and The Good Doctor, Nancy Drew, and Firefly Lane. He was also Nate in a series called Allegiance as a reoccurring character. Our priest was played by Tim Dixon. He's been in episodes of X-Files and Happy Face. He was Steven in the movie Lake Placid. And then our street preacher, minister at the beginning, was played by Ron Selmore.
He's so good.
He is. He's been in episodes of True Calling, Smallville, a few times, Arrow a few times, Witches of East End, iZombie, Batwoman, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina a couple times, Van Helsing, Riverdale, and Nancy Drew. He was a security guard in Freddy Got Fingered. He was another guard in Chronicles of Riddick. He was Dex in Blade Trinity. He was an officer in the movie 2012. He was a homeless man in Tron Legacy, and was Danforth in the movie Sucker Punch.
Cool.
So
So
you were not stoked on this episode, I could tell.
There's not a lot of action. I think,
there's not a ton of story.
Yeah, there's, we get some, like, people get revealed information that we already knew, right?
Right.
So we had the three, like, God is the sister. I mean, Rowena,
Amara,
Amara is God's sister. It was revealed 3 times.
Yeah.
To different, to each of them. And I'm like, well, we could have all done this at once. Like, it just kind of felt like I didn't need to get each of your reactions to the sister thing. And is this really that big of a deal? Why are we making such a big deal of God having a sister? I don't know. And it just, well, the writing was great. I think it was the episode moved along. It just, I don't know. It wasn't, there wasn't a lot of funness in it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was Bummersville either, but it also, the ending
kind
of it. Is, because you learn that Amara has no regard for souls and doesn't see the bad in consuming them after murdering a fuck ton of people for no reason. And then you find the big reveal at the end that Sam thought all along he was talking to God, or he was giving a message from God, but it really was from Lucifer. So those are kind of like, oh no, but it's a lot of build up to get there.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is a big climax to, like, the big reveal that it wasn't God, that it was Lucifer. But it kind of feels womp womp getting there. It was kind of slow. Like, and maybe just because we're used to, like, fights. Like, there wasn't a monster destroyed to get to the answer.
Right.
Like, the way they got to and even you had, Rowena and Crowley watching them as, like, this is going on, like, almost as if they were watching a play happen, right? So even while they are experiencing it, I don't think it's quite as dramatic. Like,
because they're not participating.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's kind of weird.
Interesting. Like, I mean, there definitely is life and death to Sam being in the cage with Lucifer. It just didn't feel like the surprise. I mean, maybe it's because I've seen it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It just feels kind of like a womp womp. Like, okay, like, it was good.
I was like, oh, I found out, but I wasn't like, oh my God. I don't think the episode didn't get me there, and I feel like it should have.
Yeah. No, I appreciate a burning bush, though.
That was fun. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
What can you do?
What can you do? All right, so you pyrophyte. All right, I guess on that note, we'll end things. And until next time, cheers, jerk.
Cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Be a Dick production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios podcast network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.